Breaking news! The animals of Animal Farm are currently making the hardest work possible by building the windmill. Obviously, Comrade Napoleon's idea, right? Did I mention the animals were starving to death? There is not enough food on the farm to help accompany them while they work so hard on pulling boulders of huge bricks down the hill. Did I also mention that Comrade Napoleon is stealing eggs from the hens every week on Sunday? He promised Mr. Whymper 400 eggs a week when he comes to do his weekly check. Did I mention that Boxer, the huge, enormous, strong horse, is almost dying? His strength can't handle pulling more boulders down the hill. Did I mention Clover and Muriel discovered the horrible alternation in the Seven Commandments? Well, buckle up, boys and girls, and let's take a ride on Animal Farm, chapter 7 through 10. This is the last part of the podcast. Assalamu alaikum. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to MJ's Talk Show. Today, we will be finishing our Animal Farms podcast. We will be discussing the last 4 chapters, chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, I really need to give you a friendly advice here. Get some chocolates and a tissue box because these 4 chapters are about to get messy. These 4 chapters are basically, to me at least, they're the saddest 4 chapters I've ever read in all the books I've read. Napoleon did some really messed up stuff at first, but here it just shows me a lot of reflections about his character and how much of a walking red flag he is. And I really need you to hold back those tears because a lot of messed up stuff happened. So sit back, relax, get that tissue box, and let's get straight into it. So, as we said last time, after Napoleon stole Snowball's idea of the windmill and he basically encouraged the animals, or forced, I'm not gonna lie, he forced the animals to get engaged in the building of the windmill, and they did. It was clear now how hard it was going to be since they had to collect large amounts of stone and bricks and they had to pull huge brick boulders from down the hill and all that. They needed a lot of tools like crowbars and pickaxes, but obviously no animal could use those because those tools are for humans, and even if they needed to use them, they'd have to stand on their hind legs. And we all know 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, and whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. So basically they can't use the tools, so they had to just pull them down the hill and make them drop to the floor so they would all break. And sometimes a lot of big boulders don't break, and it was very, very tiring. On top of all that hard work, their food intake and basically their rations of food was decreased. Why? Because we don't have enough food. Do you want to build the windmill or do you want to eat? Of course you want to build the windmill. Who told you want to eat? You don't want to eat, do you? So during the building of the windmill, I want to talk a little bit about Boxer's character here. So as we know, Boxer is the strongest horse on the farm, right? He's basically the John Cena of the horses. So during the building process of the windmill, most of the times when the animals were dragging down the large stone boulders down the hill, they would slip sometimes, and not all the animals were as strong as Boxer. They called him an enormous beast, you know what I'm saying? So not all the animals were as strong as him. So sometimes the boulder itself would slip from the animals, and Boxer would always stop it before it could crush them or hurt anyone. So you see, Boxer would always put a lot of workload on himself. Even when Clover, the other horse, would always advise him to take it easy a little bit. He doesn't have to do everything at once. He would always say the same 2 phrases. I will work harder and Napoleon is always right. He would even get up half an hour earlier than usual just to work more on the windmill. Aww. I mean, he is such a sweetheart and he is a hard worker, but he is completely brainwashed and he doesn't have so much brain to his brawn, which is really sad, but I really love that kid. However, in spite of all the hardness of their work and all their great contributions, they still ate less, and the food was not enough, and the animals were starving. Also, I want to pinpoint something here. To build the windmill, Napoleon needed a lot of items that wasn't in their reach, and basically was not in the farm. So he decided to engage in trading. So Mr. Napoleon here had basically an excuse for every single situation. So his excuse this time was that it wasn't for any commercial purposes or anything that he wanted to engage in trading, but it was to obtain certain materials that they really needed for the windmill. He also said, and I quote, "The needs of the windmill must override everything else."
Bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
Are you for real right now? Like, are you actually serious? Like, okay, been the windmill, but we don't have food, we don't have crops, we don't have energy to do anything. Let's just put the load on the little weak animals and Boxer, because Boxer can do anything and he will just work harder, and Napoleon is always right. Isn't that what you want? Man, you disappoint me every single chapter. In addition to that, he also made arrangements to sell a stack of hay and a year's crop, and if more was needed, he would sell the eggs too. And the hens? No, they don't get to live in a family, they don't get to see their baby chicks grow, they just get to build the windmill, listen to Napoleon, and be a slave. So basically, he broke the rules, right? It was agreed by everybody that no animal must engage in trading, use money, or interact with humans because all they do is evil. So, of course, he stood his ground, and the growling dogs silenced every single disagreement. And it was final that Mr. Whymper will visit the farm every Monday morning and receive instructions. وبكده نكون دمرنا أول قانون من ال7 commandments. Whatever goes upon two legs is an enemy. If whatever goes upon two legs is an enemy, why are we trading an enemy? Why are we even trading? Why are we not listening to old Major? What is wrong with society? It was about that time that the pigs suddenly decided they want to move into the farmhouse, aka Mr. Jones's house. Of course, it was against the rules, but little Mr. I have an excuse for everything, Squealer, was able to convince the other animals. He said it was absolutely necessary that the pigs, aka the brain workers of the farm, have a quiet place to work in without disturbance. And it was also more suited to the dignity of the leader, Napoleon, to live in a house rather than a mere sty. Excuse me? A mere sty? What happened to all animals are equal? If I get to live in a sty, he should too. And if he gets to live in a nice, warm, cozy house, I should too. And aren't we not supposed to act like humans? Why are you trying to live in a house? Why are you trying to act like Mr. Jones? Are you gonna sleep in the bed too? That's real suspicious. However, the pigs didn't just stop there. They also had their meals in the kitchen, and they used the drawing room as a recreation room, and the worst of all, they slept in beds. Of course, Napoleon and Squealer can fool a lot of animals. However, Clover the horse was no fool at all. She remembered something about the fourth commandment talking about that animals shouldn't sleep in beds. So she went to Muriel and asked her if she can read it for her since Clover couldn't read. So Muriel the goat got up and read the fourth commandment: no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. Of course, Clover didn't remember any commandment mentioning bed sheets, which is real suspicious. Of course, Squealer saw them and he gaslit them into believing the rules were never changed at all and they were just old in age, and they seemed to forget a lot, which is normal. And there was nothing against beds, it's just the bed sheets. And of course, he said his two famous phrases: "We, the pigs, are the brain workers of the farm, we need our rest, and surely, comrades, you don't want Mr. Jones back, do you?" So clearly, all that talk about the 7 unalterable rules was just to mess with their heads. This is clearly altered, this is clearly messed with, and this is clearly messed up, and I have had enough. Revenge time! So, remember how brutally Napoleon kicked out Snowball, or basically attacked him and chased him out? Yeah, well, boy, do I have good news for you. When November came, the weather was too snowy and rainy for the animals to keep building the windmill. So, during a bad blizzard, the animals went out to work on the windmill when they were taken by surprise. The windmill has collapsed. Obviously, Napoleon was too stunned to speak. He observed its ruins very carefully and he kept sniffing the ground for evidence. And then he yelled, "Comrades, do you know who Comrades, do you know who is responsible for this? Snowball, the enemy that comes in the middle of the night and ruined our windmill. Oh, it sure was Snowball." Napoleon went feral. He was seriously about to burst into flames from anger. He almost made all of his eye veins pop. He was so angry that he made a death sentence to Snowball, and he put a reward of a full bushel of hay to anyone who finds him alive. Even the animals couldn't believe Snowball can be called a traitor or dangerous, and they also didn't believe he would do such a thing. But whenever they argued he wasn't, Squealer just gives them multiple excuses why he's a dangerous character and he's bad influence, and they'd still have their doubts, but they never dared to show them or speak about them. Because if they did, there were 9 enormous dogs, 9 enormous growling mouths waiting to devour any animal who disobeys Napoleon with just one single howl. And they'll be gone. And they knew that, of course, but they kept their silence. Now, watch the downfall of Animal Farm. One Sunday morning, Squealer ordered the hens to surrender their eggs that they had just laid. Why? Let me tell you. So, Napoleon agreed with Mr. Whymper to give him 400 eggs a week in exchange of him buying grains and meals enough for the animals to keep the farm going. Obviously, the hens refused and protested that this was murder. So, evil Napoleon acted very harshly and demanded to stop their food rations, and any animal that will even think of giving them 1 grain of food will be executed. Sadly, for 5 days, the hens had nothing to eat and they stood their ground and refused to give them any of their eggs. Since there was no food for them, 9 hens had died and the eggs were still taken away from their mothers. It's okay, you can cry. Buckle up for more. After the hens and the eggs incident, suddenly, early in the spring, something alarming was discovered. It was that Snowball was secretly visiting the farm at night. The animals were so disturbed that they could basically hardly sleep in their stalls at night. Every night, it was said he came like he was creeping under the darkness and he did every bad thing. He did all kinds of mischief. He stole the corn, he upset the milk piles, he broke the eggs, he trampled the seed beds, he did everything to mess up the farm. He even messed up the windmill, as we all know. He was the one that brought it down because it was his idea and Napoleon stole it from him. So honestly, Snowball has every right to be on that farm as much as Squealer and Napoleon, because he had really smart ideas how to fix the farm and make their labor lives less, and they would only work 3 days a week, and the windmill idea was going to be perfect. But now the windmill idea is just putting the animal into more labor and starving them. I mean, Snowball was a really nice guy, and he had a ton of good ideas on how to save the farm and save the animals, cut them some slack, and they wouldn't have to work as much. But I guess just Napoleon had other plans and he just wanted to torture them. I don't know what is going on in his little pig brain, to be honest. But he's just the worst. I really side with Snowball here. He needed his revenge, and now he was getting his sweet revenge. And I liked this chapter a lot because every time something bad would happen, they would always blame it on Snowball, and like you can picture him like standing in the corner giggling devilishly. It's really fun. Sadly, all that mischief led to something completely tragic. 4 days later, after that mess, late in the afternoon, Napoleon ordered all the animals to assemble in the yard. Boy, I am scared. When they were all gathered together, Napoleon emerged from the farmhouse and he was wearing both his medals, for he had awarded himself for being an animal hero first class and animal hero second class. For what reason? He doesn't even deserve them anyway. And he stood there with his 9 huge dogs, and they were like rolling around him and they were growling at the other animals for no possible reason yet. However, when they all got together, Napoleon uttered a high-pitched whimper, exactly like the one when the dogs attacked Snowball out of the farm. The dogs ran towards four little pigs and grabbed them by their ears, dragging them right down to Napoleon's feet. To the amazement of everybody, three of them actually run to attack Boxer. And Boxer, as he's a very strong horse, he saw that coming and he caught one in mid-air and pinned it to the ground. And he looked at Napoleon, basically threatening him, should I crush the dog's neck or should I let him go? Napoleon just told him to let the dog go, and the rest of the animals were now just scared, siding with Boxer, just hiding behind him, so now they can know what exactly was going on. So it turns out those four pigs were having contact with Snowball and they were talking to him, making plots with him, and they've seen him destroy the windmill and basically do everything, and they did not say anything. So Napoleon called upon them to confess their crimes, and they were the same pigs that protested when, like, Napoleon, he said we won't have Sunday meetings anymore. They were the same four pigs that protested and said no, we should, and like he basically called on them to confess their crimes, and when they did, the 9 dogs attacked the pigs in front of everybody and they tore their throats out. And then Napoleon demanded whether any other animal had anything to confess. 3 hens who had been ringleaders in the attempted rebellion over the eggs now, they came forward and they stated that Snowball had appeared to them in a dream, and he told them to disobey Napoleon's order, and they did. And they too were slaughtered in front of everybody. A goose came forward and confessed for having secreted 6 ears of corn during the last year's harvest, and she ate them. Like in the night, she hid 6 corns and she would eat them. And also another sheep confessed to having basically urinating in the drinking pool water. And it was said by Squealer and Napoleon, all of them to be killed right now, and they were all slain on the spot. After a few minutes, the discussion was over, the executions were over, and there were just a pile of corpses lying before Napoleon's feet. The air was heavy, the smell of blood, which had been unknown since the expulsion of Mr. Jones. The animals were scared. Even Boxer, the strongest horse on the farm, was terrified. And after a few moments of silence, he said this: I do not understand it. I would not have believed that such things could happen on our farm. It must be due to some fault in ourselves. The solution, as I see it, is to work harder. From now onwards, I shall get up a full hour earlier in the mornings and work harder. And by that, my friends, the 6th rule of the 7 commandments was blown away. No animal shall ever kill another animal. As you've just seen it. The pigs, the dogs, they were all responsible of killing a lot of animals. 3 hens, a goose, and sheep. They killed 2 other sheep, I guess. They killed a lot of animals. And it's really messed up. It's really tragic. And this was the downfall of Animals Farm. And that was it for today's video, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this part, and stay tuned for the next part, which will be the finale of Animal Farm, which is coming out real soon. And stay tuned for the surprise we have for this channel to finish off the podcast in a really nice way. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. This was Maron from MJ's Talk Show, and peace out.